Excuse me.
Well, hello. We are here live and in living color back in our studio. For the past couple of weeks, we've been traveling like crazy, but we'll catch you up on that in a few minutes. I'm Dr. Paula C. Perez, educator,
Okay.
leader, TEDx speaker, coach, whole bunch of things. And we're excited. We're committed to helping single women in particular, and of course, couples on their roadmap to marriage. And with me is
Me. Uh, I am Pastor Chris. I am soon to be an MDiv after my name and PhD student after my name. But for right now, I'm pastor, husband, grandfather, brother, uh, all of the above. But we're just here today to talk to you.
exactly. And unfortunately, last week we were in Virginia vacationing
And it went out.
and the power went out.
Phew.
The Wi Fi, not the power, the
Yeah.
Wi Fi went out.
Phew.
So let's, for those of you that weren't able to join us last week, let's just recap. We're talking about the importance of dreaming big. And we were fresh off our retreat in St. Thomas, which I had been planning for a year.
Yes.
And then my TEDx talk that happened in Wilmington, Delaware, a week ago. Well, 2 weeks ago tomorrow. So
Wow.
I was reflecting on how long I had been dreaming about standing on that red dot. My husband and I flew to St. Thomas on last year so that we can visibly see where we were going, where we were taking the people. And then for those dreams to become a reality was just so exciting. And it made me think about our relationships and how sometimes we don't have the relationships we desire because we just have not dreamed big enough. So it's just important to dream. And we talked about how there's so much proof in our life. And as I said, I think about when I wrote my book, 49-Year-Old Virgin, Delayed Not Denied, and then the Delayed Not Denied, how I became my best on my journey to love and marriage. That whole thing started because I dreamed about it. And even our marriage, for those of you that have read the book, you remember my testimony of how I was at a women's retreat that I was hosting. And at that retreat, I vowed and said, I'm going to be married in the year.
Yeah.
I just visualized it. Go ahead.
And then I got a phone call that same day when somebody was my best. Well, he turns out to be the best man at my wedding. His wife called me to let me know, have you ever thought of? And I said, no, I did not.
Yep.
And she goes, well, you might want to think about it. And who would have thunk it?
Amen. So a year later,
I
was married.
And
yes. I think there's so much with visioning and dreaming. Rest is certainly a part of it. And I reflect on our retreat experience and how the women had an opportunity to step away from the noise, to step away from their daily routine, and to be in nature. There are many mornings when we did devotions and some teaching overlooking the Caribbean Sea. I mean, how breathtaking and beautiful. But allowing us to step away, to rest, and to really vision. I think rest is an important part of that. And learning how a lot of times the clarity comes when we give ourselves an opportunity to slow down. Very much so, because I think a lot of times one of the tools of the enemy is to keep us distracted, to keep so much going on in our head, around our environment, that we can't focus and we can't hear his voice. We can't hear the Lord's voice to give us those next steps. So ultimately, it's important, ladies, I'm speaking specifically to the ladies because you know me. But dreaming is not optional. You have got to have a plan for your life.
Explain what do you mean by dreaming is not optional?
I think about so many of the women that I coach in my business. They are successful in business. They have gone up the ladder. They've achieved their educational goals.
Okay.
They have experienced success in so many facets of their life. And they got there because they dreamed of it. They visualized getting that degree, walking across the stage. They visualized hearing you're promoted, you get that job. But how many times do they really stop and dream big about what they want in marriage and relationship? Go
So
ahead.
a question.
Mhm.
Would you say in the many that you have counseled, the many you've interacted with who are highly successful, did they put their relational dreams on hold to achieve their financial goals? And that because there wasn't balance?
I think in some cases there was imbalance. I know in my case, I don't know if it was an intentional seeking after, but I think it was more an attitude. Well, I'm not married, so I might as well go ahead and seek all of these other things.
Or was that
So,
more busy work or was it?
no, I didn't view it
No,
as
I'm just asking the question
I didn't view
because
it as busy work. And I think a lot of times, I think about the verse in the Bible that says, occupy till I come. Be busy about life before it comes. And it goes back to our steps. I have a 4-step framework that I use in my coaching. And the S, remember, is to seek self love and awareness. The T, trust that there's a master plan for your life. And when you believe that, you have an expectation that things are going to work out in the timing that they're supposed to. And then E, enriching others, and P, pursuing your purpose. So for me, pursuing my education, going after a variety of things, starting organizations. I started a program called the King's Kids so I could pour in to the next generation. So I think many times the danger is that single women in particular just sitting around waiting for him to show up. And many times we meet the person that is intended for us simply by doing what we've been called to do. The reason he saw me that day was because I was driven to be at this leadership conference. And so much so that even though I missed my ride, I found another ride so that I could get there.
No,
So
and I know the intentionality. I understand the intentionality, but I just wanted to. You've got highly successful, highly motivated women, um, who achieved many. I mean, they have achieved many great heights, but what has escaped them is relational. And just as a tip, I mean, I don't want you to give away the store, but how do you address that in your teaching, in your counseling, so that people will say, you know what, I'm really not seeing it that way, or I haven't seen it that way?
I think the big thing is our mindset. A lot of times we get to the point where it's been so many years, we've given up and we stop dreaming. And that's what I'm encouraging the women to do, to continue to dream. And you may have experienced past disappointment. We got to be real. Yeah, you may have. But I often think about the importance of reflecting and releasing. So reflect on what happened in the past. Maybe there were bad relationships, but nothing is wasted. What is it that you're going to leave in your past? You're releasing it, you're letting it go. And then what is it that you're going to carry into your future? So maybe the lesson you learned is you got to put up those boundaries. Maybe the lesson you learned is don't settle just because you're getting older. Maybe the lesson is maybe I'm too overly independent. Maybe I need to let down my guard so that a man feels like he can add to my life. So
So it's finding they have to pivot. where they have to maybe say, you know what, maybe I've invested way too many hours over here and I've got to reallocate that over there. And I've got to not be looking for a man, but be open to receiving one.
Definitely.
That to me seems like the pivot.
And in the process, really get clear on what it is you want.
Right.
You know, what are your values? What is the lifestyle that you want to carry on? What is your calling? What
Right.
has God given you to do?
And one of the things you worked on with the VIP folks was a vision board.
Yep.
And what is that spouse, that future spouse look like? Are they tall? Are they successful? Are they attractive? And and all
not
those
just that.
But not just that. But what else? What else is important?
Mm-hmm.
I know we're going to hit this, but go ahead. You say it.
Can they lead you spiritually?
Yeah. I mean, how, and I think the other thing that, because we were just talking about it, how do they deal with conflict resolution? Or do they not have a conflict resolution plan?
Mm-hmm.
And how do they treat you, when you're not at your best?
Mm-hmm.
You had a bad hair day. You didn't wear makeup today.
Mm-hmm.
You're wearing your baggy sweatpants and your comfortable clothes, and they always expected you to dress in the nines. Well, you know what? When you get into when you're married, you're going to see everything and all sides of it. How do you adjust to it early on? And I think that expectations are set with realistic expectations are set.
Exactly.
So that you can both thrive and be able to be that, come together and be one, but not two opposites and two people that are standing at the other side of the room. You got to figure out what bridges that gap.
And I think the importance of visualizing, writing things down, getting specific, not being vague. And what tends to happen is your life begins to align with your vision. I think if you speak to anyone that has been successful in career, in sports, in relationship, it all starts with the mind. And what's the picture that they see? How many times have you heard sports figures talk about visualizing themselves getting that gold medal, standing on that podium at the Olympics? How many times have you heard them talk about getting that champion ring after the Super Bowl? And they visualize those events. And because of it, our mind is so powerful. It helps us to adjust and to align our current situation with where it is we want to go.
Right. And I think we have to tell them, look, it goes the other way too. If you say that you're no good, you say that you're ugly, you say that you're unattractive, you say you'll never get a man, you'll never do this. And guess what? You're basically, as my wife reminds me, you're speaking this and you're giving it life rather than saying the opposite. Oh, wait, I don't look, I can go to the gym. I don't do this, I can do that. And so there's remedies to the situation if you're willing to find it, or if you're looking at the glass half full and you're waiting to, you know what, I can fix that.
Exactly. And one of the things I often say to the women, because I get them dreaming big, I get them thinking about, how do you want to be treated? How do you want them to make you feel? What is it that you see yourselves doing together? What is it that you imagine in terms of your daily routine? So I get them thinking. But then I say, so the man that has that type of life, what's he looking for? And do you have that in your life? So it does go both ways. And I think the importance of, first of all, our words have power. Think about how the world was created. God said, let there be, and there was. And I believe we have that same power. And just like I said, I'm going to be married in the year. And it happened, but it didn't happen because I just sat around. I got into motion. I started doing the necessary things to be the woman that he needed when we finally met up. I started saving. I started bettering myself in areas that I felt a wife should be doing. And I couldn't help during that period thinking about, it didn't say he that findeth a woman finds a good thing. It says he that finds a wife. And I think about, wow, am I being wifely in this stage that I am, regardless of who's in my environment, in my sphere? And I learned how to demonstrate those types of attributes to the loved ones that are around me, you know, my father, my brothers, and even friends, learning how to.
So let's ask. I mean, what have your dreams been like lately? What have you been dreaming about? What
Drop
have
it
you,
in the chat.
you know,
We'd
drop it in the
love
chat.
to hear.
What have you been asking God? What have you said? You know, I think that's too big. Nothing's too big for God.
That's right.
But what have you felt that, you know, I can't ask God for this? Well, why can't you? I mean, look,
Exactly.
if God is really tugging at you to say, you know, okay, tell me what are your dreams and aspirations? Well, Lord, I want to go to an Ivy League school. I want to graduate. I want to go on and get a master's and doctorate. I want to be a physician.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with doing those things.
Exactly.
And I'll give you an example. Our son said at nine, that he wanted to be an attorney. At 27, he accomplished his dream.
Yep.
It didn't, at 9, it just didn't say, oh yeah, I'm an attorney. No, but with the higher education, he moved himself through the system, went to college, went to law school, and then was able. But the whole thing was that, you know, trusting in God really doesn't mean being passive.
Exactly.
Having that vision and partnership with him,
Mhm.
are you in it together?
Yep.
You know, and my wife is always saying, you know, where the Lord leads, you'll succeed. Where he guides, he'll provide.
Amen.
That is her tagline everywhere.
Amen.
And where are you
Mhm.
in this process? And do you need somebody to come alongside of you to help you expand your vision, see the blind spots that you currently have, and then enable you to see you have great potential,
Right. And where you need to get into
and where you
alignment.
need those little extra helps. And I think that's where coaching becomes invaluable.
Correct.
It's, you know, look, when your career is moving at a 95 miles an hour, and then you realize one day at 45, oh my God, I'm by myself. I've achieved partner in my law firm. I've become the neurosurgeon I wanted to be. I've become an administrator in my school, but I don't feel complete because I don't have the other part that I've been looking for.
But think about what they do with your job. Many times you'll get a mentor.
Correct.
You'll go to school in order to learn
Yeah.
and to better yourself.
You get a doctorate, you get somebody to walk alongside of you, your advisor.
Exactly. If this is an area of your life that you want and you desire to have, you really need to consider doing the same thing in terms of your relationship. And that's what we are here for.
Right. And this is everybody, think about a doctor. Everybody has a specialty. There's some general practitioners, but they do a little bit of everything, but not in one particular thing. But there's a neurosurgeon that's what he does. There is a man or woman who does cardiovascular. We now have somebody that does coaching for women who are looking for their spouse, and how do we prepare, and what are the steps to get there?
Giving you the tools,
right?
So you're able to attract, date, and marry the man of your dreams.
There you go.
And that is our desire. And one of the things that I'm most pleased about is that we don't just deal with singles. Once the person that you're intended to marry comes along, together, my husband and I coach them, because it is so, so important to prepare for your future. We are strong believers in doing the work before you say, I do. Because a lot of times, you know, those lovey feelings, those emotions, those hormones are going, and it does cloud your judgment.
And then they wear off.
And then after you say, I do, it wears off. But then that's when love becomes a purposeful decision, an act of deciding, I'm dedicating my life, my love to this individual.
Correct.
And we help you along that journey.
Right.
So we're so excited about what
God is about to do. And I think that
Exactly.
we're trying to bring that excitement into your relationships for you to be prepared so that when somebody does walk in the door, do they see you?
Exactly.
And if you're seen, then your preparation has paid off.
Amen. Amen. So we're just again so excited about what has been happening in this area of our lives. And we encourage you to connect with us on here, YouTube. Please follow us. Hit that subscribe button. We are at Roadmap to Marriage on YouTube. On Facebook, Dr. Paula C. Perez. On Instagram, at Roadmap to Marriage. On LinkedIn, Dr. Paula C. Perez. So we're all over.
Yes.
And visit our website at Roadmap to Marriage. We'll be starting some group coaching in June. So stay tuned, be intentional about what you want, and most of all, dream big.